Hello, welcome back to See What Sticks, a video series about everything and nothing. Today, I'm going to do something a little different. I'm sitting on this super ugly couch, which means one thing. I'm going to talk about headphones today because I've had friends ask me, I've had other people ask me about my headphone preference. So, full disclosure, I mainly use these headphones I'm about to talk about for my podcast. If you don't know about the podcast, look up See What Sticks podcast. I will put a thingy right here. These headphones are both pretty widely known. The first of which are the Audio-Technica ATH M50x's. Mine are in the gray color with the black little rings. I've had these for about a year and a half, maybe 2 years now. I think they're pretty solid. And then I decided to take the venture into open back headphones, which are the next ones we'll talk about, which are the Sennheiser HD599s in this kind of ivory-ish banana-y kind of color, like the inside of a banana with brown. And personally, look-wise, I don't love them, but they do sound pretty good. This isn't going to be a full review of these headphones. One, because I'm not an expert, I'm not an audiophile. This is going to be more of a real-world scenario and real-world examples test, because I feel most people who watch these, that's what they're looking for. The specs, I mean, I can read them off of here for the headphones. However, I'm not going to, because most people don't know what it means, and it probably doesn't mean a whole lot to your average consumer on the headphones themselves. So let's get into it. First, we're going to talk about looks, because I feel as if a lot of people buy headphones off of looks, or that's a big determining factor. So the first ones we'll talk about are the Audio-Technica ATH M50x's, and this is what they look like on my head. Note the cable is not in right now, but when the cable's in, there's a black thing hanging from one of the sides. That's what they look like. They're pretty tight on your head. They fit pretty close. I mean, you can wear them under a hoodie. You can wear them on an airplane. These are the headphones I wear on airplanes. I just like them. They're comfy. I can wear them for a really long period of time. But my ears do get a little sweaty inside of them. That's just a really nitpicky kind of thing about these headphones. But I do really enjoy them. They sound pretty good. They sound pretty clear. Everyone on YouTube or everyone online has talked about how good the Audio-Technica ATH M50x's are and how they sound a lot better than their price bracket, which right now, I'm going to look on Amazon, around $150 right now. So this is being recorded in October of 2018, and that's how much they are. And if you type in the Sennheiser headphones, which are the Sennheiser HD599s, sorry, they're about $185 right now. So, give or take. So if you're willing to spend the extra money, they are there, but they're very different headphones. They are both headphones, but in a way it's like comparing oranges to grapefruits. They're similar, but there's a few differences that you should know about. First, we're just going to keep talking about the Audio-Technicas. These are closed back. This is a piece of plastic here, and on the inside of the ear cups, there's another piece of plastic in here, some felt, some like faux leather, foamy stuff, memory foamish kind of thing. It's pretty good. But on the inside, that's closed off. So it's like a pair of Beats or any other headphone that you would see on the market, pair of Bose, anything like that. They're closed back. There's some pros and cons. Pros to closed back: people can't hear what you're listening to unless you're listening to something quite loud. You can't really hear the outside world unless what is on the outside world is really loud. So these give you a really good listening experience if you're trying to listen to music on a plane or on a bus or just in a crowded room. They're pretty good, and you get a really immersive experience where it kind of shields you from the world if that's what you're looking for. These are really good. They have bass, but they're not gonna like rattle your head off. Their mids are really nice, and the highs are good. So when you're listening to a song, let's say you're listening to jazz or rock, you can hear all the instrumentation in here. Now, this isn't a pair of $100,000 headphones, so it's not going to sound like you're in the concert hall or in the studio with the artist, but they are really good, and they definitely do the trick. If you're using the Apple AirPods or EarPods as your standard baseline for headphones, these 1,000,000% are so much better. The only thing is they're over ear, so if you don't like that, I'm sorry, they are over ear. Now, we're going to talk about something else in a little bit. Now, these are the Sennheiser headphones. They are also a plastic build, so they are plastic, but they don't feel cheap. They don't feel like there's no rattling around. There's no like clicking when you roll, when you shake them, and they do stretch. I'm not going to do the whole thing that a lot of people on YouTube where they stretch them all the way out. I'm not going to do that because I don't want to risk breaking something. And I mean, if you're doing that to your headphones anyway, I don't know. Who's going to do that to their headphones? So that's going to get into my next point. These headphones and these headphones are both very, very well built. But these ones can compress into themselves and you can carry them. I carry them in this case where the other cables go in here. I carry them in there when I want to go anywhere and I need my headphones. However, these do not compress. They get smaller this way, and that is it. There's nothing, they do not get any smaller than this. So that is a downside to the headphones, but since these are open backs, we're about to get into what that means, I wouldn't see any reason you would take these out of your house. And I'm going to explain that now. So, open back means right here, this. You may not be able to see it in this camera, but this, if you put them on, you can hear everything. So there's no plastic on the back here. This is a grate. And there's the driver, which is the piece of mechanics that vibrates to make the noise. On the back side of the driver, there's nothing blocking it. So when you're listening to music, people can hear what you're listening to if it's any louder than like the third bar, the volume meter. So that is a downside, but what that gives you is something called a bigger sound stage, and it makes the sound feel more full, like you're actually listening to something live, and if you're listening to it, it's surrounding you rather than just being on your ears. It feels like it's part of your ears. I know that's a strange description for how you would describe the sound stage for a headphone, but these sound really, really wide. They sound like you're part of the concert if you're listening to live stuff, or you're part of the studio session if you're listening to studio style music, which is what most music is. But they do sound fantastic. If I had to compare the two on what I personally like best, I would say these. But that being said, I don't use these as much because they're not as versatile. I can't take them places. If there are people talking in the room, you kind of lose a lot of the charm of these headphones. These are really good for when I'm doing my podcast. Shout out to See What Sticks. Or when I'm sitting in here, the podcast studio is on the other side of this camera. When I'm sitting here doing something quietly, these are perfect for editing. They sound really true. So if something's supposed to sound really bassy, they sound bassy. If it's supposed to sound high, it sounds really high. It's really, really quite good. That is all subjective. Sound is totally subjective. If you love Beats by Dre and you love like heavy, heavy, heavy bass, go for that. I'm not telling you those are bad. These are just more true to sound than those would be. So these are more what the artist would intend or the audio engineer intends you to listen to. But I do really like these for movies. If I'm watching a movie on my computer, I'll plug these in and use them. Note that I also use a DAC, which is a digital analog converter, through my computer into my headphones. Essentially what that does is it changes the audio ones and zeros from my computer into analog sound that these can interpret, and I have an amplifier with that as well, so that these headphones sound better. You can listen to both of these out of your iPhone or Android or whatever, and they'll sound great. But if you're trying to get the most mileage from these headphones, 1,000,000% think about getting those. I can link a few in the description. I'll link what I have as well, but that is how I would recommend listening to these. Another statement about these headphones is when I'm doing my own short films, videos, I use these with the camera. So when I have the camera on, I'm recording, I plug these in to know what I'm listening to, and they sound really good for that. I do genuinely love these. However, if I'm sitting by myself in my house, I will use these instead, just because I personally think they're a little more clear. You get some more instrument you get more instrument separation, and all that means is when you're listening to guitar, say there's a few different guitars in the song, and say there's a bass guitar, you can tell the difference between each of the guitars and the bass. Where if you're wearing Apple EarPods, the one that come with your iPhone, that kind of stuff, you may not be able to tell the difference. They kind of blur together. And that's not necessarily a terrible thing. That's just baseline for headphones. These are a really big step up. And remember, these are slightly more expensive than these, and I think you can find these maybe online for even like $80. I think probably the cheapest you could maybe find them, if you're lucky, is maybe 120 maybe. But on Amazon, which is where I would go to, you don't always get the best deals, but it's kind of a gold standard for buying things, more expensive than this. But if you're looking at just convenience, I would say the Audio-Technicas. Now, if you're going more for, I'm just going to listen to these in my house, hang out, watch a movie, watch some music videos, listen to a record player, 1,000,000%, these are the way to go. But note that you really shouldn't listen to these outside at all, just because they are so much more tailored for an indoor listening experience, where these, you can kind of go anywhere. So that's kind of my opinion. I wouldn't say it's a full review of them. It's more of what I would think and how I would steer my friends into buying headphones, and what are you looking for. Because if you're just trying to buy a good, well-rounded pair of headphones, out of these two, Audio-Technicas. Now, if you're just trying to go to the gym, do that, buy a pair of headphones for the gym. I mean, I just use Apple AirPods or EarPods for the gym, just because I know they'll get broken, they'll get smashed, something like that. And both of these are kind of expensive. They're on the low end of the expensive scale of headphones, because you can get $50,000 headphones or even more expensive. So headphones that are in the $100, $120, $150, $180 range are really, in the grand scheme of headphones, pretty cheap. But I wouldn't take either of these into a gym. They're meant for more relaxed listening. I wouldn't run in them. Even though you can, I wouldn't recommend them. You'd get really hot. Another thing that I will mention, these headphones, the ear cups, are this velour type felty material, whereas this is still the plush faux leather. These actually feel better. The ear cups sit wider on your ears, so when you have them on, it just kind of feels like there's pillows and there's nothing pressing up against the physical like skin of your ear, which I know is a weird way to put that. So comfortability wise, if you're just sitting around, these are more comfortable. So that being said, it's kind of up to you what you like. Audio-Technicas are more versatile. You can run around a little bit in them. You can go outside. There's not as much fear of them getting broken. There's not as much fear of people knowing what you're listening to, if that is your thing. But if you're just sitting at home listening to music, I would say the Sennheisers. So that's been this audio review, more of an opinion guideline. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll catch you in the next video.